Analytics will never be a substitute for design intuition. Data can help you.
Obviously can't take it out, or it's no longer a substitute. But we've never heard in the past about passive nicotine.
But he is not the antagonist. He is a substitute antagonist. The real antagonist cannot be there. He's too weak.
Intoxicants and alternative ways to use time, that cannabis would be a substitute for alcohol. And so I thought that was the strongest argument.
But technology is no substitute for the real deal of human contact.
And once I sat as a substitute judge, I really liked it.
Anymore and substitute a word here and there.
Commit in the willingness to be the substitute and the sacrifice. He judged
the effect that I want. I need to substitute in some numeric value. So we'll see that.
That's a little trick I often use, is if I don't know what kind of word to use, I'll substitute similar words and see if
to substitute mechanical power for human physical toil. Assembly lines.
Schedule, maybe family breakfast could be a good substitute. It's about looking at the
because otherwise you'll just leave. So, we need, the argument in the book is that there is no substitute for wisdom, for the will to do
the market more efficient, but nothing can substitute for a good relationship with someone.
And of course that's why central planning doesn't work, because you try and substitute individual intelligence for collective.
We're now looking for a substitute file sharing service. Like most Supreme Court.
It's like the ultimate substitute for coffee for you.
It is.
we saved $1.6 million $3.6 million in a single year on substitute costs. We had teachers in our classroom.
To substitute historical misery with common unhappiness. So that was his cheerful.
Moment where we substitute a moral consensus about how we serve the least.
He noted that someone had figured out how to make a substitute for maple syrup out of corn or maize.
Or we're going to substitute these machines for these working.
I am a substitute, however. I am standing in.
There's no substitute for leadership. I mean, these are big market.
Well, I think there's no substitute for experience. That's why I say the first thing.
Of anguish and of woe, though avenged upon by God as the substitute for countless sinners, bearing their responsibilities and
it's kind of a substitute for having to love my subject, is make you feel for the subject.
There's no substitute for hard work. And I think one thing that I see
coffee loading is where you substitute food for coffee, because coffee gives you all of the energy.
Spinach. And all I do is simply substitute those Asian greens with these four.
Comfortable if you want to just sort of substitute the word. I selected compassion because it is the one that is.
Drinks, we've got a very cheap substitute. The evidence is pretty good.
If animals are so like us that we can substitute using them instead of humans, then surely